All right, let's set the scene. The year is 1864. We're in the middle of a brutal winter during the American Civil War, right in Richmond, Virginia, the capital of the Confederacy. And packed inside the city, you've got hundreds of Union officers just trapped, wasting away in one of the most notorious prisons of the entire war.
But this isn't just another story about survival. Oh no. This is the story of one of the most audacious and frankly most impossible prison breaks in American history. We're talking about a plan that was dreamed up in total darkness, fueled by sheer desperation, and executed with nothing but grit and a little bit of smuggled intelligence.
So, to really get how incredible this escape was, you first have to understand the prison itself. And Libby wasn't just some holding cell. It was a machine, a place specifically designed to just crush a person's will to even think about resisting.
I mean, just try to picture it. It's this old converted warehouse, just crammed with people, and diseases everywhere. The source material paints a picture of a place that just reeked of sickness and despair, where the only thing, and I mean the only thing, these guys had to look forward to was their next tiny, pathetic meal.
One prisoner, a Private Wells, he really summed up that feeling of hopelessness perfectly. After months and months of being captive, these men started to forget they were soldiers, that they were even human. They were just waiting to die.
But then, everything changes. A new prisoner shows up, Colonel Thomas Rose. And here's the thing about Rose. He isn't some career military guy. He's a school teacher, and he brings this completely different way of thinking. He looks around at this grave, this hellhole, and he doesn't see an end. He sees a problem that needs a solution.
And right away, Rose's attitude clashes with the vibe in the prison, which is pretty much personified by another officer, Major A.G. Hamilton. Now, Hamilton's a practical guy, a home builder, and he's been in Libby for months. He's hardened. To him, hope isn't just useless, it's dangerous. But Rose fires back, arguing it's the only thing they have left. And right there, that's the central conflict. You've got this methodical hope up against this grim, soul-crushing reality.
Okay, so you've got these two very different men, but even together, they couldn't pull this off alone. No way. Their plan needed a third person, a critical partner. And this partner was operating in plain sight, right under the noses of the entire Confederate leadership. So, let's meet the team, right? You've got Colonel Rose, the methodical leader, the brains of the operation. You've got Major Hamilton, the practical engineer who knows how buildings work, their weaknesses. And then you have the secret weapon, the person who unlocks the whole thing, Elizabeth Van Lew. A wealthy Richmond socialite who everyone, and I mean everyone, just called Crazy Bet. So Crazy Bet comes to the prison on one of her, charitable visits, and she starts rambling about the most random stuff. She drops this weird line about a cat that could always get into her basement. She's talking about flowers, cracks in the foundations of old houses. The guards just roll their eyes. They think she's harmless, just some loony old lady. But Rose and Hamilton, they hear something completely different. So, was she just an eccentric old woman obsessed with cats, or was she a brilliant spy sending a coded message? Well, here's the twist. She was one of the Union's top spy masters. The whole Crazy Bet thing, it was an act, a brilliant cover that let her waltz through Richmond society, picking up intel and helping prisoners. That talk about cats in basements, totally coded. It was an absolute masterclass in espionage, and it just proves that the most effective weapon can be the one nobody sees coming.
I mean, just think about that contrast for a second. On one hand, you have these men barely surviving in absolute filth and misery inside Libby Prison, and on the other, you have Elizabeth Van Lew operating out of her elegant parlor, smuggling military secrets out and smuggling vital info in. It's just an incredible picture of two completely different worlds, both fighting the exact same war.
All right, so how did this all actually come together? Well, with the intel from Van Lew, Rose and Hamilton finally had what they needed. They could turn that flicker of desperate hope into a real, concrete strategy.
And they had to move fast. The timeline here is just insane. They get the maps from Van Lew in late January. By January 28th, they've already punched through a brick wall in this disgusting, rat-infested basement. Their target date for the escape? February 9th, a moonless night that Van Lew told them was their best shot. That's less than 3 weeks to pull off the impossible.
And what were they working with? Basically nothing. Their tools were improvised. Spoons, nails they pulled out of the walls, scraps of wood. But they had two things that mattered more. They had that critical piece of intel from Van Lew, a map showing an old drainage tunnel right under the street. And they had the desperate, raw power of men who simply refused to die in that place.
So you have to ask, why?
Why take such an insane risk? And I think this quote from Private Wells again, it just gets right to the heart of it. The real fear for these guys wasn't just dying in there, it was the fear of living, but coming home so broken that you're a stranger to your own family. So this escape, it wasn't just about getting out, it was about reclaiming the men they used to be.
Okay, so let's break down the plan itself, because it is wild. Every single night, they had this tiny 18-minute window when the guards changed shifts. That was their chance. A small team would sneak into the basement, chip away at that wall, and then crawl through a 50-foot drainage tunnel to a vacant lot on the other side. And they had to coordinate this for dozens of men in absolute secrecy. The margin for error? Literally zero.
And all of that, it brings us to this, the climax. After weeks of digging in secret, of almost getting caught by guards, of clinging to this fragile hope, the night is finally here.
February 9th, 1864, there's no moon, the city is quiet. And inside Libby Prison, dozens of men are holding their breath, just waiting for the signal to move.
This plan, which would go down in history as the Richmond Deception, was more than just a jailbreak. It was the single largest prison escape of the entire Civil War. And the stakes? Well, they couldn't be higher. For every man involved, there were only two ways this could end: freedom or a quick death and a shallow grave in the prison yard. So this is it. It all comes down to this one night. You've got 43 men, a 50-foot tunnel, and just one shot at freedom. After all the planning, all the risk, would they actually make it?